Hello friends, good morning. Today I want to talk about a topic that I think is very important to talk about. It is a topic that is talked about a lot, but I made this video to talk specifically from the point of view of humano puente, and it is the topic of what an emotion is. While I say it, I invite you to try to imagine or to give an answer to that question. What is an emotion? What are we learning through the current paradigms about what an emotion is? A while ago, the human being opened the door to the fact that we are something more than a physical body. And I am referring to Western human beings, especially, or the one that is usually called Western, because the ancient shamans, and the ancient sages, and the Eastern peoples, and the ancient spiritual currents have always known that we are much more than matter. But in Western thought, emotions began to gain a place. But that possibility of something as profound as an emotion was quickly westernized. So we saw that currents emerged that even suggest that the human being is an emotional being, which from the point of view of humano puente, is practically at the same consciousness level as saying that the human being is a physical being, since emotions are the next field that comes after the physical plane. It is very, very incomplete to say that a human being is an emotional being. I am going to tell you some peculiarities that I have the honor of having found in this path of conscious bioexistence that I presented to the earth together with Lucrecia a while ago, and that today I have the honor that many consultants of humano puente already see it. They put it into practice. They carry it forward, and that is the basis, or one of the bases, of why people change their lives so much and heal from things that no so long ago were considered incurable or chronic, that you have already seen in books and in other videos. But it is time to explain that emotions are something much deeper than what is usually raised in currents that could be called neurological, psychological, and biological. An emotion is not something psychological. It is not something neurological. It is not even something energetic in the way that emotion is taken as something energetic. An emotion is something like Ariadne's thread of the labyrinth that we are transiting on the earth. I am going to give you some examples. A woman comes to consultation because she cannot find a partner. She does not have a partner. And you are going to find yourself with a lot of videos and different things on the internet that give examples of why people may not find a partner. And in some examples you can see purely emotional topics, of rituals, of replacements. For example, that a person may have taken her dog as a partner, that she may have had a certain peculiarity in her current life. And although that is not out of line, it must be taken into account that for a person not to have a partner, much deeper things have to happen. But since the power that the brainstem program with emotions has to create reality is not taken into account, you do not get to see the depth of that. For example, a woman who comes to a consultation, who is one of those people that one could say that in any dating site she has all the ideal requirements, that she is a person who can be considered pleasant, pretty, interesting talker, cultured, everything that the standard thought of what an ideal partner is could suppose. But this person, and this has happened many times, comes to consultation because she has not had a partner in her life, not a single partner. Or maybe she had one, it lasted a short time. Or maybe she had one, and as soon as they began to deepen the relationship, that couple vanished. And here in humano puente, where we have the honor of seeing how an emotion travels through time and generations, we tell this person, you are wrapped, you are immersed in an emotion that is prior to you, and that emotion is related to the fact that in your clan, someone had a partner and died, got married and died, had a child and died, and the latter is the most likely to have a child and that the child dies, or that the person dies, the mother dies, or that the father dies. In humano puente we call it undercover infertility. And infertility has the peculiarity of programming the brainstem in such a strong and important way that it will continue to travel through generations. But here the invitation is for us to see how that affects the reality of a person. What I would like you to take dimension of is that what happened generations above, what happened to her grandmother or maybe to her great-grandmother, who had a child and the son died, was so strong and generated such a large field that makes this woman, meeting all the standard conditions that give a person the possibility to have a partner, not having the experience in her life of someone approaching her, to invite her out on a single date. Or as I said recently, perhaps it happened with a person and that person later left. But it is clearly visible that there is something in this person that the possible partners do not approach her. And the question is, how does this person drive away all the people around her who are related with her program of not having a partner? For example, how does a woman, and I repeat, with all the conditions to have a partner, or even without them also, because in reality there are no conditions to have a partner. It is not about being pretty, ugly, tall, short, rich, poor, fat, skinny, whatever. Those are not the requirements, because in all those types of people there are couples. It is something else what is behind not having a partner. And what is behind not having a partner is that this person carries in her center a son that is an emotion, and that is programmed from generations above. And that fact that occurred generations above makes this person create a reality where no one approaches with the intention of forming a couple. The emotion is not just something that we carry inside and that can cause us anguish, anger, sadness, joy. The emotion is the knot that sustains a reality, and the emotion does not come to make this person spend her whole life alone. The emotion does not come only for us to do a job or a closure letter making the emotion go away. The emotion connects us with the task that we took before coming to earth, to solve it, and it begins to repeat, repeat and repeat, and we do not solve it, and we do not solve it, until that emotion makes us the enormous honor and favor of becoming a symptom. That can be physical or it can be a life problem. So an emotion is something much bigger than what Western science today considers. An emotion creates universes. An emotion creates the reality of people as part of the ingredients for the creation of reality. A fractal of the Creator is needed, which is each of us. Memories of previous experiences are needed, that I would tell you that it is almost the totality of what we are. We are very transparent beings, and practically none of the decisions we make are made in freedom. Our free will is absolutely conditioned, but emotion is like the thread that leads everything, and that gives logic to all that unites us with the purpose. Therefore, those who allow themselves to see the depth and creation of reality that an emotion generates are going to become great protectors, so that nothing hinders that process, that nothing prevents me from knowing what that emotion means to me, because that has to do with the purpose that I brought to earth so that I can make my experience. When this person comes to consultation and we work on her loneliness, her inability to have a partner, by decoding and releasing emotions, and rescuing the ancestors who have been stuck in the past, in life experiences that have been shaped by the sorrow of losing a child, or by a mother who died while giving birth, or by a man who had a child and died, or by someone whose partner left when he had a child, or by a couple who, as I tell you in the third book, were about to get married, and when the future husband was going to try on the clothes for the wedding, he was run over by a truck and died. Below we find these experiences of people who spend their lives immersed in an energy field, sustained by a whole logic, and a series of concatenated emotions that lead, if one follows them, understands them, transits them, and releases them, to the encounter with the purpose on earth. And the purpose of life on earth is prior to life on earth, and is the most important thing on earth. So in a monoprente conscious bioexistence, evading an emotion is practically evading the purpose of life. What we look for when each person comes to consultation is to try to get him or her to understand their purpose in life. Since the purpose is prior to existence, all this existence is governed by that purpose. And the one who best knows the purpose is the symptom. And the one who best leads us through that story is the emotion. But I repeat, that emotion is not only something that I carry here, inside, but as it is inside, so it is outside. When the universe is passing all the time through moderately harmonic fields, in which the yin and the yang can be perfectly matched to form the third leg, which is the whole, the positive, the negative, and the whole, up, down, and the whole, inside, outside, and the whole, the lower world of the shamans, the upper world of the shamans, and the Vesica Pisces, which is that little fish that forms in the middle, that some religions have taken as a symbol, is this intermediate world that we are transiting here. It is this world that we call reality. But this reality is a dream created to transit the purpose that we came to create to the earth. At the other end of what I have just told you, when a person manages to get no one in her life to approach her, there are people who I always ask to raise their hand at events, to see if there are any. And there are always those who, for example, have had 4 or 5 boyfriends with the same name. And when we find out how it is possible that a person throughout his or her life has had 5 boyfriends with the same name, or even 4 or 3, which from the statistical, mathematical, and probabilistic point of view is impossible, what we discover in many cases is that that name, the name that repeats among their partners, was in many cases, I repeat, not in all, a love that had been left incomplete by her mother. For example, a person dates 5 Anthonys throughout her life, and one day she says, "Mom, did you date any Anthony?" And the mother replies, "Anthony was the love of my life that finally never progressed. We never ended up being a couple. That relationship broke. I lost it." Then this person realizes that throughout her life, she was immersed in this emotion from her mother, and that absolutely changed her life. Now the question I ask is, this person did not go looking for Anthony's, tapping them on the shoulder and telling them, "Give me your ID, I want to know if your name is Anthony." No, this person was sitting in a bar. Someone tapped her on the shoulder and asked her out on a date, and that person's name was Anthony. This person was at work. Someone called her and invited her on a date, and his name was Anthony. That is, the Anthonys approach her reality. They appear in her reality. How does a human being make that happen? How does she summon the Anthonys? And the answer is very easy. Everything indicates to the human being that he is the creator on earth, but it is very difficult for the human being to accept that. Since he does not fully understand it, he believes that that is not so, and that is so. Then an emotion is not what it is usually called. We are not bio-neural beings. We are not emotional beings. We are creators on earth. And in the creation on earth, emotion has the key to decipher the path we are doing, and from which we are creating a whole reality. These 2 cases that I told you may sound amazing to you, and I recognize that at first it is like that. It continues to amaze me too, because I live with that asleep Pablo that I still carry somewhere inside myself, and who likes to be amazed every day. And the consultants also enjoy, and we always say it, this wonder of contrasting all the time our previous beliefs with our current certainty. But an emotion is a creator of worlds. An emotion governs us and creates the whole reality. In this universe that I just told you, which moves more or less homogeneously when a traumatic event occurs, or the accumulation of small traumatic events occur, what this does is that it generates a whole field that is stored within us. and that field that is generated is similar to a sun. It has the same creation force as a sun, because the universe is individual. This emotion that I have engraved within me is going to make all the planets related or with the same code as the emotion orbit around me, the ones that have the same code as this emotion, the ones that help complete the emotion. We are not a sun, we are a solar system. We are not an emotion, we are an emotional system. We are not a biological human being, we are a complete spiritual system, with everything that this implies in order to carry out our creation on earth. I am going to tell you something that happened to me, and that is the reason why I am making this video. As you know, because you see it in the previous videos, in the more than 45 videos that you have available on the Humano Puente website, humanapuente.com, you may have seen that I use rituals a lot. I use rituals every morning to greet the earth. I use rituals to recognize the dead from each place. I just did it in the south of Argentina, doing a ritual in El Chalten and El Calafate to announce to the earth that I am arriving to that place as a representative of a neutral and original energy, that I am not going on a mission of conquest or invasion, but that I am going to recognize the beauty and the dead from each place, and that I am a representative creator on earth. So when I get to those places, I usually take a stone and invite for a while I am hiking in the mountains, all the dead that have not been seen, that have not been recognized, that have not been bid farewell by their loved ones, to enter that stone, so that in the name of someone who is doing a human experience, they can transcend, they can enter the earth. Because after a while, when I hike up the mountain, I do the burial of all those dead. For example, I also did this ritual in Brazil when I went to give the encounter, and I do it in many places. I particularly remember the group of Brazil because prior to starting the encounter we did that burial with a small group of Humano Puente consultants we met with there. And it is something that I do in many places. So I am a person who does rituals, but rituals have also been given a place that is not entirely resonant with the purpose that we do on earth. For example, if a person comes to a consultation and I recommend them to perform a ritual to get out of a certain package that is governing them, an emotional package, a historical package of their clan, what I am doing is leaving incomplete to him or her the possibility of waking up. I am going to tell you a little about my personal story. When I was 13 years old, a large wart appeared on my wrist, a very big wart. My father had given me a watch at that time, and I really liked wearing that watch. But every time I moved my hand, the wart bled. So then it was uncomfortable for me, and I went to different doctors. They gave me silver nitrate. They performed other types of treatments. I remember that they put some bandages on me, and every time the silver nitrate leaked, it burned my wrist. Until finally the wart was there again. Later I understood why the wart wanted to be there. Today I understand it. Until I abandoned that search for healing that way. And one day my dad comes home and tells me, "Pablo, I was talking to Doña Carmen, the lady who lives on the corner, and she told me that if you write your full name and your date of birth in a certain way, on a certain piece of paper, and I give it to her, she can remove the wart." Being 13 years old, without knowing what I know today, I obviously told him, "Yes, I'll do it right now." And the next morning I was preparing that little paper to send Doña Carmen, and my dad gave it to her. Not even a week had passed when I was at the door of my house with a friend, and suddenly I looked at the floor, and the wart was on the floor. I looked at my wrist, and the wart was no longer there, and that experience seemed absolutely amazing to me. It surely influenced me to do what I do today, and I surely created that scene in my past for me to do what I do today. And at that moment I felt that rituals were something very, very important. I had already gone through other rituals. For example, when I was 8 years old, in Cordoba, medicine had given me up for terminal. They said that they had nothing else to do, and the healer lady began to work on me, and here I am. In a few days, my family could go back to Buenos Aires, with me in perfect health condition. I remember it. I was little. When I was months old, I fainted in the playpen, and my mother always told me that she felt that the person who had come back was not the same one who had left. When I had months, when I was a kid, my grandfather cured me with saliva and making the sign of the cross. So I have a history of rituals that I love and that I respect very much. But I am going to return to the word and the wrist. Sometime later, being a teenager, for not having understood that the word symbolizes dirtiness, the wrist symbolizes work, and the watch symbolizes, among other things, time. I had to live, while being very young, experiences of dirtiness lived in the workplace. Those work experiences were so strong, in which I had the unpleasant role of having to put a company in order, to tell some people that unfortunately they were no longer functional to the goal of that company, and doing such an unpleasant task that it implicated me at least 3 of the 5 surgeries that I had in my life. So today, if someone offered me to remove my word with a ritual, I would absolutely refuse, because that word that was telling me about the dirtiness at work came to give me a message that was crucial for my life, and that it was going to make me avoid many years of stress and 3 surgeries. That, simply because I had not listened to the message that the word came to give me. What I am doing here when I mention that the humano puente path is a deeper path than what many currents from different parts of the world consider, even shamanic ones. I also say it for these things, and I say it with all due respect. I love the universe of the shamans. I travel that path. I feel very close to that path. But I invite you to not allow under any circumstances, if it can be avoided, of course, because there are circumstances in which the physical is pressing, and that health requires other things. But if you have the possibility, please do not allow anything to take away the message that the symptom comes to give you, or at least, if you get rid of the symptom, that it is the same to get it out with surgery than to get it out with a ritual. They are 2 different operations. So I also invite people from the world of complementary therapies to stop criticizing medicine, because in many cases the same is done, but on another level. Try to ensure that nothing prevents you from getting to the message that that emotion and that circumstance came to bring you. I also mean by this the closure letters. The closure letters that circulate on the internet today, as much as the recipe for lemonade, are often great invitations not to become aware. That's why in most cases, closure letters alone do not work. And that is why, in most cases, many rituals do not work either. Because creation is so wise that if there is something as powerful as the message of the purpose, being transmitted after its repetitions that one does not become aware about, and becoming a symptom, the purpose hardly agrees, so that with a simple ritual or a note I leave aside the purpose. The purpose is much stronger. That is why there are rituals that will not work either. What I want to ask you from Humano Puente is for you to take dimension about the fact that an emotion creates reality, that an emotion creates symptoms, that an emotion creates the circumstances of a person's full life, and that it sustains it. It is the energy field that keeps the planets around that sun together. So try to reach the deepest message that an emotion gives you, and only then, when you became aware and worked all that energy thread that an emotion comes to tell. Pablo, don't forget it. This is what you came to do on earth. Pablo, don't avoid this in any way. Work on it in depth. You are creating it for a reason. If you follow it, you will reach your purpose. Try not to negotiate that under any circumstances. Speaking from the point of view that I transmit in Humano Puente, there is nothing on earth that you should give away that purpose for. That is the purpose on earth, for that you created this whole life experience, and everything and everyone around you. Remember that in this human experience we are alone. We are the only one in this experience, that we see ourselves reflected in Him, in in the weather, in the day, in the sea, in the stones, in a cousin, in the girlfriend, in the dog, in the children. But we are the creators of everything. This universe is created for each one of us. This universe is created to heal. And when we heal, the whole universe heals. We are much bigger beings than healing a word. We are the healers of the universe. The universe is created to heal itself. That's why in every book that I sign, I write, "Thank you for coming to heal the universe. Thank you for coming to heal me. Thank you for coming so that I can understand something, and through that, heal you and heal myself." So that way, each person who comes to see me comes for me to heal. I can only heal my universe. Then, friends, that is the deep statement, very deep, about what I come to talk to you in this video, in which I always invite you to go beyond. The spirit in one of its fractal parts, and equal to the total of the Creator. Being fractal is to be equal to the total, takes a purpose in the universe, and based on that purpose, it opens the time. From the infinite possibilities, it makes a schematic replica of the purpose, but already inside the earth, and that is the plane 5, for that it configures a series of energy fields that seen from here are going to appear to be memories, for that it puts together a psychic structure that will give rise to emotions that will be reflected in everything that we consider matter, which does not exist. I am not saying it from a merely spiritual side, but that anyone who puts any material that exists on Earth under a very powerful microscope is going to see that after all there are only atoms, and that those atoms are almost in their total energy, and that there is no mass inside there, there is no matter. That is to say that everything we are seeing, including the video that you are watching at this moment, the computer that you have in your hands, are all energy fields. There is no matter. That is what all science says. We already agree on that. Now what remains to be seen is what is it that accommodates that matter. And matter is accommodated to a large extent in this way, and with the purpose that I just told you. And do not allow just to work the plane of the matter and the plane of emotions. Do not erase it with a ritual. Do not perform surgery through a ritual. It is the same to remove a word with a knife or with an operation. Get to the deep message of that. Thank you for allowing me to transmit this depth that we seek in the conscious bioexistence, and that I seek to transmit in Humano Puente, and through all the consultants, and especially the communicators of Humano Puente. Working on your emotions in depth until you reach the purpose is a spiritual right. You are the creator on earth. We are creators, fractal of the creator on earth. That in no part of the path that is interrupted. Thank you for this year that we begin. This year that I begin to transit new countries, new languages, places where we are being called precisely because of this vision, among other things, that make Humano Puente travel around the world to tell that after Hammer, other currents and other things came, but that within that there seems to be a new evolution, a re-evolution, which is what is proposed in Humano Puente, and that is that starting from the biological logic you can reach the purpose on Earth. Thanks to the more than 4,000 consultants that are already in Humano Puente. This year we are already in that figure. See you, consultants, in the Congress. Europe, I will be there again this year, I think in Belgium soon and in some other places. Probably in Germany, surely in Spain, so see you everyone soon. I send you a big hug. I honor all of you and the Humano Puente consultants who are in more and more countries on Earth. Thanks